So we're here at the Dublin Tech Summit, and what are you going to talk about today?
So I'm talking about two things today. So number one is the role blockchain technology, and more specifically Ethereum, is playing and will play in the future in the music industry. And the second is really just to explain a little bit about who Consensys are. This is the company I've just recently joined, what they're doing in Dublin, what their plans are for Dublin, and what the technology is going to do for the future of the world.
So starting with music, and it seems like music and IP is one of the very sort of obvious areas where blockchain is a perfect fit. How is that going to develop?
So the kind of marriage between blockchain and music is multifaceted. IP and kind of recording who owns what and when and who did what and when is a really good use case or application of the technology. But a big part of it is also around how artists and musicians and content producers actually get rewarded for the content they produce, whether that be music, art, journalism, whatever. So effectively what Ethereum and one of our many spokes is looking at this is effectively how can we create a platform for artists to record their music, and then when it is played, for them to be rewarded instantly for that playing of a song or for somebody reading that article. So it's all about decentralization. It is a peer-to-peer effective mechanism. So if I read the content you produce, you will get a payment directly, and it doesn't go through let's say Twitter or Facebook or Google, as the case may be.
That sort of seems to be exactly what the music industry is looking for, and it's a big disruption to not only what's gone before, but what's there now with Spotify and the like.
Yeah, exactly. And like, don't get me wrong, I use Spotify and I use all those services I just mentioned. But when you start looking into, specifically in the music industry, when you start to look into when a song is published or an artist publishes a song or records a song, actually the royalties they receive, it's super complicated, because if you record a song here in Ireland, then okay, it's played in the UK or played in the US or played in France or played in a different country. They all have different laws. They have all different, I suppose, means as to how you get rewarded for that. And all the time that either dilutes what the artist receives or significantly delays the time that they receive anything for it. So it's really, really awkward. And then what that means then are for musicians and for journalists and for content producers, they're not incentivized to produce, or they can't live because they're not getting rewarded for what they do.
And like, music isn't necessarily a good career choice these days, but blockchain might be. Or would you say that blockchain's the new rock and roll?
I think that's an interesting one. Look, I think blockchain technology is an enabler to a whole range of sectors and industries. If Ethereum can play a role in how more music is produced, how more artists, how journalists and content producers are rewarded for what they put out, then I think that's a great thing. That means we're going to get more creativity, and me as consumers of all those things means I have more choice, because there's more people creating, and that's a good thing.
What other sectors do you see being affected initially by the blockchain revolution?
So there's probably a range that are in the well-known kind of ethos already. But what I would say is that I think financial services is a big one, and it's being looked at for sure. So how we buy and sell shares, as the case may be. The oil and gas sector, how we exchanged goods, as the case may be. So in oil and gas, it's if I buy a barrel of oil, how quickly can I then perhaps sell that to another party? How can I confirm that actually this barrel came out of the ground at a certain point? And there's a whole supply chain, I guess, audit trail to that. That's kind of another one that we're looking at. The use cases are almost endless. So even in the public sector, there's going to be a whole range around. Dubai is looking at this at the moment, how they're going to put all public records onto a blockchain, and more specifically onto an Ethereum blockchain, in order to increase transparency in the country. So if you want to see what happened on a given date within a specific department, that information will be readily available for one and all. And that's a great thing for society. So the use cases are in many ways endless. So to answer your question, I guess, I think financial services is a big area for sure. I think supply chain is probably and that's cross-sector, cross-industry, is a big area, and one we're going to increasingly look at here in Ireland with Consensys. We have a range of really, really great food companies here that I think we'd be really excited to work with.
So you've mentioned Ethereum a few times. It's very much in the DNA of Consensys. How is that developing as a blockchain technology? Because you're certainly ahead of many of the others, but not without your challenges.
So the technology is evolving by the community, and that is as simple as that. And I am still learning, day by day about what the platform is about, because it's changing all the time. What makes Ethereum work is 100% the development community that is building upon it, and then whether it's individuals or companies that are building applications on top of it, which then increases its functionality further and further and further. So to give an example, there are 30 times more developers working on the Ethereum platform than any other blockchain platform in the world at the moment. So what we're seeing, I guess, is, and this links into the kind of the talent space, is that effectively the more people that use the platform, the more people that get familiar, the more applications that are built, and then that cycle continues. So this is a really, really important story. And developers like working on the Ethereum blockchain. Why? Because it's decentralized, it's open source, no one owns it. It's not associated, it's not a licensed solution or technology. It is open source. If you want to download it right now and start developing applications on it, it's there for you to do so.
And Consensys are coming to Dublin?
They are.
Why Dublin?
Great question. So, very proud to say Consensys are here in Dublin. So at the moment there are 5 people, and by May we'll be actually 15 people. So why Dublin? I guess Consensys saw some of the blockchain activity that's going on in Ireland and in Dublin, and they got in touch and we started having a bit of a chat as to what was going on, explained a little bit about the ecosystem. They were pretty surprised at all the activity. And they're aware of all the kind of big tech companies that are here, so Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Airbnb, and I think there's a whole wealth of tech talent here which has developed an ecosystem, and they want to be part of it and also contribute to it. So I think there's going to be a lot more, or there are going to be a lot more announcements about Consensys, what we're doing in Ireland, and our presence over the coming weeks and months.
Is there a skills gap in terms of developers, or how are you going to, or how are you looking to solve that?
So, and this is an interesting question. I think if it's kind of a needle in a haystack almost. If everybody is spending their days looking for people who have 3 years blockchain experience within a specific sector, it's going to be really hard to find that person. However, what we're seeing is there are a lot of really smart people in Dublin, a lot of really good developers, really good back-end developers and front-end developers who have JavaScript experience, mean stack experience. And I think if they're hungry and motivated and really are interested and curious about blockchain technology and Ethereum, then I think they're going to come to speed on what the platform can and can't do really, really quickly. So we think if it's between 4 and 6 weeks, they're going to be pretty competent and really adding value to the team that they're part of.
So if they know the language, they can sing the song.
Exactly.
And that brings it back to the blockchain and music thing being the new rock and roll. Should I teach my kids to play an instrument or to code?
I would say both. Maybe not at the same time, although that'd be super impressive. Look, the world will always need people being creative, and always. And I guess the world will always want to listen to music, as far as I'm concerned, and to read content, and for people to be creative so we can be entertained and stimulated. And what blockchain technology and what Ethereum is aiming to do is to create that platform so that it can stimulate creativity, and for people to be rewarded so it stimulates creativity further, and then we have more cool music to listen to and more great content to read.
And more time to do that in our decentralized utopia.
Hopefully.